Hello, friends. The 820th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. I'm making today's video using a gasoline generator since I don't have electricity. I purchased this generator thanks to you, for which I want to say a big thank you again. To be honest, the future prospects really scare me. Now we don't have a heat wave when electricity consumption usually increases, but the problems are already huge. I don't even want to think about what will happen in winter. In the Kharkiv direction, heavy fighting continues in Vovchansk. The nature of the clashes is turning to positional. Yesterday, soldiers of the 82nd Brigade, with the support of an armored vehicle, attacked the positions of Russian troops along Gugulia Street, which is why a gray zone was added instead of a red one. At the same time, the American publication ABC News, citing the commander of the 57th Motorized Rifle Brigade, Bakhmut, writes that Russian troops are making gradual progress in the Kharkiv region, although their progress has slowed down. The fighting continues. We managed to slow down the enemy, he said. According to Bakhmut, Russia still has reserves, and they will bring these reserves into battle. In Lyptsi, near Kharkiv, nothing was prepared in case of a Russian attack, a Ukrainian military journalist told CNN. Nothing was prepared here. Nothing. All positions are built by infantry, the fighter said. One of the units revealed to the journalist that they were using a Soviet artillery piece from the 1940s. They fire Western shells from it, but their number is limited, 10 rounds per day, while in the fall there were 100. Russian military fighters of the Ukrainian armed forces are called professional soldiers. We see it in their equipment and tactics. They don't send just anyone to attack, says the fighter. The publication notes that the loss of Lyptsi will allow Russia to bring up its artillery to a sufficient distance to hit Kharkiv. In the Bakhmut direction, the intensity of the assault on the defense of Chasiv Yar is increasing. Opponents were able to enter high-rise buildings in the east of the city where they are trying to gain a foothold, after which the Russians will reach the main lines of defense of the city along the Siverskyi Donets-Donbas canal. On the northern outskirts of the canal microdistrict, fighters of the International Legion of the Main Intelligence Directorate drove out Russian troops from the territory of the Dachas. On the southern outskirts and south of the canal microdistrict, the enemy advanced along the forest belt and occupied the northern part of the Stupki Golubovsky II reserve in an area up to 1.55 kilometers wide and to a depth of 800 meters. To the south, the Russians advanced to the north of Klishchiivka, where they supposedly took Hill 215 yesterday. There is more and more evidence that the defense forces are gradually withdrawing from the village, which in fact has already been destroyed, and where it is really impossible to create defense lines. According to data from the Ukrainian side, the enemy in Klishchiivka advanced along 2 streets to the ruins of the Intercession Church and occupied an area up to 600 meters wide and up to 800 meters deep. In turn, the Russian Ministry of Defense today announced the capture of Andriivka. Ukraine did not confirm this. The clashes in Klishchiivka can directly affect the battles for Chasiv Yar. As I already said, our defender may have to retreat from there to a defense bridgehead along the eastern bank of the Siverskyi Donets-Donbas canal. It is likely that this is where the demarcation line in this direction may soon end up. Let's look at 3 possible scenarios if this happens. First, the enemy will go west and try to cut the route from Kramatorsk. If it is cut, then our fighters will be supplied only by the only railway from Kramatorsk. But then the Russians will have to storm the positions of units of the Ukrainian armed forces, which have managed to gain a fairly good foothold in the strip of industrial quarries. If the command of the Russian army chooses this option, then the sequence of actions may look like this. The goal will be to knock out Ukrainian defenders from positions beyond the canal, where there is a chalk quarry. The Ukrainian armed forces can use the terrain as natural cover for ammunition and equipment, and the heights as firing positions. In a way, such points are a natural small fortified area, as difficult as possible for assault. The goal of such an offensive could be access to the villages of Predtechyne and Stupochky. Having occupied them, the Russians will cut off the N20 highway supplying Chasiv Yar. However, with this option, the enemy group will remain vulnerable from other industrial quarries in the Stupochky area, where Ukrainian army units will be concentrated for countermeasures. The cost of such a forced march for the Russians will be very high, and they will also not be able to take Chasiv Yar from the southwest. The second scenario is a bypass of Chasiv Yar from the north and an attempt to reach the railway supplying the Ukrainian defenders in the city itself and neighboring Kramatorsk. To do this, the enemy will need to capture Klishchiivka. In this case, the actions may be as follows. The Russians may be tasked with capturing the village of Kramatorsk, and then, crossing the canal, an arc attack on the strip of villages Markov, Fedorivka, Bielokuzminivka. If successful, the railway in the area of the Asharkovy railway station will be cut off. The supply of Ukrainian units of Chasiv Yar along this route will cease. However, this will not cut off the supply routes for Ukrainian fighters there, since highways will remain. And third, they will continue to try to break through the defenses and move towards the main areas of Chasiv Yar, without resorting to risky large-scale operations. Friends, this channel exists solely thanks to your support. If you have the opportunity and desire to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.